In 2008, WWE generated over $200 million charging wrestling fans $50 every single month. And yet, every time a fan clicked order, half of that cash vanished before ever reaching the company bank account. Look closely at a working-class fan sitting in their living room at 7:55 on a Sunday evening. Remote in hand, they stare at a flickering digital cable menu. They desperately want to feel connected, to be part of the water cooler conversation at work on Monday morning. But clicking that order button meant making a real, immediate trade-off against their weekly grocery or gas budget. Look, I am no financial advisor, I just read public SEC filings, and the math behind this quiet interaction reveals a hidden structural trap. WWE had spent decades building an undeniable pop culture powerhouse, but behind the curtain, it was functionally chained to a legacy distribution system that systematically devoured its highest margin asset. Every major pay-per-view event felt like an absolute fortune flowing into corporate headquarters. But the financial plumbing beneath the surface told a completely different story. Why would a media empire lock itself into an economic setup where it voluntarily handed over half of its gross revenues? And what happens when that systemic friction forces a company to execute a radical pivot? To understand this trap, think of running a highly successful neighborhood bakery. But to sell a single loaf of bread, you are forced to pass through a physical toll booth standing directly at your front door. The toll collector does not bake the bread, buy the flour, or take any operational risk whatsoever. Yet, they demand 50 cents of every single dollar you collect, purely for letting your customer hand you cash. That toll collector was a powerful cartel of cable and satellite distributors, giants like In-Demand, DirecTV, and Dish Network. On paper, corporate press releases boasted about record-breaking $50 pay-per-view buys and massive arena gates. But behind the scenes, WWE's actual unit economics were suffocating under severe third-party friction. To keep the revenue engine running, the business model relied on manipulating a core biological human drive, the psychological need for belonging. If you did not pay the $50 toll, you were completely locked out of the cultural conversation until Monday night. Now, to be fair to the evidence, cable distributors argued they earned that 50% cut. Back before high-speed digital streaming existed, these platforms provided expensive satellite transponders, local billing networks, and bad debt coverage. They took on the financial risk of uncollected bills. But as television production costs ballooned and fan budgets stretched thin, relying on cable pipes meant WWE was running faster just to stay in the exact same spot. Therefore, executive leadership executed the only move available in a trapped monopoly. They pushed the throttle on price and frequency. Let's follow the money through the paper trail in WWE's SEC 10K filings. Back in the late 1990s, a dedicated fan paid roughly $29 for 5 signature events a year. But by the late 2000s, management expanded the calendar to a punishing schedule of 14 or 15 annual events, while steadily driving individual prices past $54. In total, asking a dedicated viewer to shell out over $750 a year just to follow the storyline. That is the structural equivalent of paying a second monthly electric bill just to keep up with a television show. Every single price hike squeezed the core fan base tighter. Buy rates began to hit a hard ceiling because household budgets simply could not expand any further. WWE had built a massive brand moat, but the economic foundation was cracking under its own weight. They were entirely dependent on third-party cable giants who controlled the customer relationship, hoarded the billing data, and kept half the revenue. If a subscriber had a billing issue or dropped the show, WWE had zero direct contact with them. They were flying completely blind, feeding an expensive production machine whose primary profits were being siphoned off at the front door. This created a dangerous financial feedback loop. The company was extracting maximum short-term margins from its most loyal followers, while actively burning the bridge to long-term audience growth. Years later, when that same fan sat down on a Sunday night, they were no longer staring at a $50 cable prompt on a digital box. They were opening a smooth digital app for just $9.99 a month. The common public assumption was that WWE dropped its traditional pay-per-view model out of goodwill, or as a late response to modern cord-cutting trends. But the underlying structural reality was far colder and more strategic. WWE did not launch its direct-to-consumer network to give fans a generous discount. They did it to deliver an absolute executioner's blow to the middleman. By keeping 100% of a $10 subscription instead of 50% of a $50 one-off fee, WWE instantly reclaimed its customer data, stabilized predictable cash flow, and eliminated the cable toll booth forever. When you look past the spectacle, every massive corporate empire is just a series of invisible trade-offs. WWE realized that owning the pipeline, even at a lower upfront price, is the ultimate source of power. Because in modern capitalism, if you do not own the pipe delivering your product, you are just paying rent on your own success.